Your tenant just moved into the rental house. They tried to get into the shed that's in the backyard, but it was locked. They called you up for the key. You looked for the key. You didn't have it. You called the owner. The owner said, no, that shed is not for the tenant's use. That's the owner's shed. The owner has his stuff in there. Could that happen? My name is Harry Heist, and I'm the founding partner of Heist, Weisse Wolk. Sometimes areas of a rental are excluded and are not for the use of the tenant. But we have a problem here. The tenant expects to use everything in every area on the rental property. And the tenant's right. Unless something is excluded from the lease, the tenant is allowed to use it. Let's look at some examples. Sometimes there's a shed in the backyard. And that shed, the tenant sees, and the tenant expects to be able to use that shed. Maybe it's what we call owner's closet. The tenant sees a locked closet and they try to open it up while you're showing the property, and they just assume that once they move in, they'll be given a key to that closet. Maybe it's downstairs on the first level of a condo. And often condos on the first level will have closets or almost mini garages for the use of the owner. The tenant sees this. They see unit 301. They're just shown unit 301. They like it. They see door 301 downstairs. What is the tenant's expectation? The tenant expects that they get to use it. They get to use that storage area downstairs. They get to use that closet that's locked, but they expect to get the keys. They expect to use that shed that's in the back. These are expectations, and they are reasonable expectations. The problem is the owner had a completely different expectation. You failed to check with the owner to see whether any areas are excluded. Another area that could be a real problem area is the attic. The tenant might think that the attic is for their use. Now, this attic probably is not even suitable for storing anything, but maybe the tenant expects that they're going to be able to use that attic. Do you want the tenant to use that attic? Does the owner want the tenant to use that attic? Probably not. Normally, you don't want the tenant up into an attic unless that attic is finished off, as it could be a serious safety hazard. We've had situations where people have fallen through the ceilings when they've gone up in attics. So often we don't even want the tenant to go up in the attic, much less use the attic for anything else. If there's areas that are to be excluded, you need to know this ahead of time so you could ask the owner what's excluded, and then you could place this in the lease. So ask the owner the excluded areas. Then, when you're preparing the lease, make sure that these areas are excluded from the lease. You don't need any surprises. You don't need a tenant trying to use an area that the owner had no intention of the tenant being able to use. Use a checklist, check with your owner, exclude the areas in your lease. If you have any questions regarding this or any other topics, please feel free to email us at info@evict.com.